points to this world system. Okay, the Egyptians point to the world population. Okay, Moshe, if you remember from the story, points to Elohim, and of course, Israel. Elohim's people. Okay. So this is what we got going on. Now let's think about it. You have a people who are bound by the adversary. Okay? Now what we're looking at the underlying spiritual meaning behind the literal and historical passages or narratives that we read in the book of Exodus. There is always an underlying meaning. And remember, two of the questions, or one of the questions, do you believe that the Word, the Bible, is both literal and prophetic? Meaning, some of the parts that we read are historical evidences that have been shared with us. Okay? But even in the literal narratives, those things that actually happen, there are underlying meanings. Some of what we read in the Bible, for example, the visions of Yusuf or Joseph, the dreams. Well, because they are dreams, they aren't to be taken literally, but they point to something else. So they need interpretation. But not only that, even the prophetic that is written and shared with us has an underlying meaning in our day and time, because it is a part of what we refer to as the letter of the law. So the underlying meaning with this story, again, we have the adversary who has a hold on the world population. We learn that because our forefather and our foremother fell subject to the serpent in the garden. Okay? But the taskmasters in the stories, once again, point to the demons. And what did they do? They made Israel serve with rigor, the scripture says. In other words, they ruled them harshly. All we need to do to substantiate that fact, look out at the world. Many of the non-believers, for example, they want to look at the conditions of the world and they want to put forth this question. If God really does exist, why is there so much evil in the world? We're going to talk about this in another lesson, but let me just say this much. The reason behind the evil in the world is not for the lack of a creator. It's because the creator of the heavens and the earth has given his creation, humanity, free will. That means we can do whatsoever our heart desires. The problem with that is a lot of what we do goes contrary to the rules and the regulations set forth in the Torah. That's the truth of the matter. Because we are operating and we are functioning according to our free will. That's the reason behind the evil that men do. But the adversary, his cohorts, all they simply do is entice. That's it. Man is totally in control of his thoughts, his behaviors. We choose what to meditate on. We choose how to react. We control that. The adversary simply entices us in a certain direction. He doesn't make us do anything. We do it all on our own. You need to understand that. But we are in bondage, in other words, to the power that he has over our senses. The world system, the people who belong to the Most High, we are trapped in this world system. What the Creator is going to do, or what he shows, I'm going to provide a way of escape for you. What you have to do first is believe. So that's why the scripture, it references this way, that he brought them up and out of Egypt. He had to bring them up because in the mind of the Israelites who dwelled in Goshen, they viewed Pharaoh as being a god, just like the Egyptian people did. They viewed him as being a god. So their mentality had to be brought up so that they can view not Pharaoh, but Yahweh. Remember, if you're familiar with the story, how the Creator said that how he was going to use Pharaoh to make his name great. What he would do is provoke Pharaoh's heart to be hardened so that he can show forth who he is. So what he did, with an outstretched arm, the scripture says, with a mighty hand, he poured forth 10 plagues, none of which touched his people. So during that time, they were able to see all these things being done. And they knew that it was from the mighty one of Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. They were protected because they were his descendants. So they only observed the calamities that befell the wicked. So there were 10 plagues. But the last plague, see, and the fact that it was the 10th plague puts a lot of emphasis there, was the death of the firstborn, which we touched on in one of the lessons, when they were given the command to put the blood at the top of the doorpost and on the 2 side posts. Okay? And what would happen then, that angel of death came through, killing all of the firstborn of the Egyptians, but wherever the blood was seen, wherever that mark or that sign was seen, he would pass over. That's where we get the term Pesach from, because the angel of death passed over that house. So now, what we have happened with Egypt and with the Egyptians, the world populace, Moshe, whom the scripture also teaches that he was going to be like Elohim, and Aharon would be his prophet. You find that in the 4th chapter, okay, and the 7th chapter. And of course, Moshe coming to be the tool or the utensil that Yahweh uses to deliver his people, Israel or Israel. Now, they're given the permission to leave after the death of the firstborn. But as they were leaving, they come to what's called the Sea of Reeds, or the Red Sea. Moshe, he encourages the Israelites because they were becoming fearful because they saw Pharaoh and his army approaching. See, what that shows is that once we begin that motion of coming out of that bondage, the adversary doesn't just let us go, but he will fight to keep us. That shows the calamity that befall many believers when they're early on in the faith. Not only when you're early on in the faith, as you continue to walk, the adversary is going to try to battle and bring you back down to his bondage, because you're in the process of being free. So they get to this point, they get to the Gulf. Now here's where the term Hebrew or Hebrew comes into play. So they were on one side of the Sea of Reeds. What the Creator did, he made a way of escape by splitting it. And